Hello, leader. Yes, I'm talking to you. Welcome to Uncuffed with me, Canel Cuffy. If you've lived any kind of life, then you've probably been to a wedding or two. And at every wedding, they read from the Bible and they read from a passage of scripture in First Corinthians, which says, love is patient, love is kind, love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. And the truth of the matter is, every leader should be bringing that kind of love to the workplace. Of course, it's not the kind of romantic love that people think about. It's a selfless love that helps to encourage and edify people. I want to break down this passage of scripture with you, if you will. Whether you are a believer in Jesus Christ or not, or even cares about the Bible, I think there's a lot of wisdom that's wrapped up in this. And if you will bear with me, we can kind of go through and see how this can help you become a better leader in your workplace. So I believe that leadership is a love language. And I say that because I think love is the key to getting anyone to have a transformational moment. And if you are a leader, you want to have transformational moments with the people that you're leading. You want them to want to follow you. That's what a leader wants. And I truly believe that the opposite of leadership is control. Leaders don't want to control. Leaders want to guide and edify. If you want to control, you don't actually want to lead. You want to drag people along. So this concept of love is a really cool take on how to get people to follow you, right? So the first part of that passage is love is patient and love is kind. And I was having a conversation with someone, a good friend of mine, and he was saying to me that whenever we get angry, the first thing to go is our patience and our kindness. And that kind of was like a mic drop moment for me in my head, right? Because it was like, yes, if I get mad at my family or I get mad at my, peers, patience and kindness go first. So how does that work for the leader? I think for the leader, we have to be very conscious of what other people are going through. We have to be conscious of the moment, and we have to choose to be patient even when things are falling down around us. Because our teams are going to be looking for us in that moment to kind of be that steadying force. And if we lose our patience with them really easily and we forget how to apply kindness to whatever we're saying, and I don't mean niceties, I don't mean being nice. I don't think kindness and being nice are the same thing. And in 2022, we kind of have those words kind of intermingled, but they're not the same. When I say kindness, I mean encouragement. I mean words that are going to, I used this word before, edify and be constructive for people, not destructive words. So kindness is a constructive way of communicating, whereas niceness is more just kind of putting a Band-Aid on something. You don't ever want to put a Band-Aid on something as a leader. So we want to be patient in those moments. Remember, a lot of people have things going on outside of their work that could be destructive to their work environment. It could be the loss of a spouse. It could be teenagers that are getting into things that they shouldn't be getting into. And as a parent, you may want to be able to separate that stuff, but it's going to come to work with you. So a leader needs to understand that a crisis at work may not be as important to their team as a crisis at home. So having the patience enough to say, hey, I'm going to go at the pace of the people that are in my employ so that we can all go through this thing together. Because love is patient and love is kind. The second part of that is love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. Those are four really big terms that we have to really break down here. Love is not envious or boastful. If you've ever been an employee of someone, how often have they gotten upset with you or jealous with you that you have a skill that they don't have? Well, the crazy thing about it is the reason why you were brought onto their team to begin with, and the reason why you bring people onto your team is because they have a certain set of skills that are either better than yours, or they have skills that you don't have at all. And that's what you want. So as a leader, when someone is showing you the benefit of you putting faith in them enough to bring them onto your team, why be jealous in the first place? You should be adding to that. You should be giving them chances to master that even more. You should be in there with them saying, hey, I can't do this as well as you. Can you maybe teach me some tips and tricks so I can get a little better at it? And boastful, of course, is the idea of not taking credit for the team's success upon yourself. Anytime there's a chance to be boastful as a leader, boast on your team, not on yourself. Hear me again. Take the chance to boast on your team and not yourself. You're going to see a really big difference in how your team looks at you and how you are represented by your team to other people, other departments, and to maybe your leaders as well. We all go through an evaluation period. How cool would it be for the leader who boasts on his or her team to then be boasted on by that same team? That totally changes the game for people, and it really creates an environment where edification or growth can happen. And rudeness is a key here. Love is not arrogant or rude. To get people to do things, you don't have to be a jerk. Just because you're in a position of power doesn't mean you have to leverage their pay or leverage your standing to get people to do something. If that's all you have in your tool bag, then you need a new tool bag, or you need to get some more tools, because leaders should be able to dip into other resources in order to get people to do better in their work. You want to be able to help drive things forward, but you don't need to be a detractor in order to do so. The best leaders are not arrogant, and the best leaders are not rude. So the next thing it talks about is it does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. Wow. It does not insist on its own way. I can tell you that when I was a young leader, I wanted the limelight, right? I wanted things to go my way. And I talked about control being the opposite of leadership. And this is a perfect example of that right here. As a leader, it does not have to go the way you want it to go every single time. And I know that can be soul crushing, because leaders believe that for the most part, they have the best idea of what the best outcome can be. Sometimes you have to allow your people to craft the outcome. Set the direction, set the narrative, let them set the outcome. Don't seek benefits only for yourself. If you win and your team loses, it's a net gain. I repeat that. If you win and your team loses, it's a net gain. Which means more people are losing out because you want it to be your way, and 9 times out of 10, it will not be as good as it could have been if your team was able to be part of that process, to be part of that development process, that crafting process, that implementation process. If you want to do it by yourself, go ahead, but don't ask people to come along with you. Don't use people as a mechanism to get your own way as a leader. And if you have any thoughts on this, please drop it in the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking. We as leaders should never be resenting the people that are following us. We shouldn't even be resenting our bosses, because when that happens, we are now creating an effect where our bosses lose their leverage And now we've lost our leverage because people are going to be playing favorites. And once people are playing favorites, you will always lose. So the last part of that verse was, it does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but it rejoices in the truth. Remember how earlier I talked about kindness not being a nicety, but a constructive edification process? This is the same thing here with the idea of truth. Speak the truth to your people. Don't force your people or cause your people to do something that is ethically wrong. And don't celebrate or reward the people that are getting the results you want in an ethically or improper manner. Because all that's going to do is just tell everybody else that the only way to succeed in this workplace is if I cut corners, I lie, cheat, and steal, and then no one's trustworthy, especially not the leader. Speak the truth, expect the truth, value hard work, and even when people fail, be patient with them anyway. Because the thing is, when we start compounding unethical behavior upon unethical behavior, eventually our company rots from the inside out. Now, if we're on a platform of truth, we don't have to hide anything. We don't have to worry about anything. And we know that the people we're working with are trustworthy enough. And a trustworthy organization is one that will flourish through any issues. It would flourish through any pandemic. It would flourish through any market corrections. It would survive any kind of dip in profits. It can survive because people know where they stand and they know where they're going. But any organization where all they care about is the bottom line, regardless of how they get there and regardless of how they step over people, is not promoting a culture where people are going to thrive long term. So I hope as you kind of went through this with me, you can kind of see how leadership is a love language and how you can bring love to your workplace. Because I think it's needed, and I think that's something that's missing from a lot of workplaces right now. People are desperate for leadership. People are desperate for leaders who they feel like they will want to follow and that care about them. There's a famine of leadership right now, and there's only one thing we can do to solve that, and that's raising up some amazing leaders. And I think that you watching this tells me that you want to be an amazing leader. So go out there and be patient, be kind, don't envy or boast or be arrogant or rude. Don't insist on your own way. Don't be irritable. Don't be resentful. Don't rejoice in wrongdoing. Rejoice in the truth, because the truth is we need you and we need the love that you can bring to your staff. So remember, don't leverage pay for power. Don't leverage position for power. Leverage your influence so that you can give away your power and people can thrive under your leadership. So go out there and lead well, my friend.